Okay, important. 6263. Jayata Vishayan Pumsa Sangaste Shopidayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhati Sammohas Mammohas Smriti Vipraha Smriti Vamshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. While contemplating the objects of senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. The key here is this: while contemplating, this is what is the killer, because after that, nothing can be controlled. So, this is where intervention has to happen. One who is not Krishna conscious is subjected to material desires while contemplating the objects of senses. The senses require real engagement, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. Now, this is very interesting. Actually, even if we are engaged in uh, loving service, but not full day, right? Like some part time. That means that when we are not engaging in the service of the Lord, then our senses are again prone to material engagements. Which is when we get into this contemplating objects of senses. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods in the heavenly planets, is subjected to the influence of sense objects. And the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was deep in meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result, Kartikeya was born. When Haridas Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he was similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi, but Haridas easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya, a sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste for spiritual enjoyment in the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not therefore in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression, sure ultimately to fail, for the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desires. The other important thing is, for those who are not devotees, at least the thought of sense pleasure, they think, yeah, I am entitled to do it. So they will indulge. And for devotees, even though these thoughts come and we know that, okay, I am not supposed to do this, but because of the Vega, this is what Srila Rupa Goswami talks about in Upadeshamrita. Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam. So these Vegas, these are forces, they like pull us, right? And if we are not strong enough, heart is weak, then we succumb. And how does this whole process start? In the contemplation. So this is very important, right? So what is a practical thing to practice is, whenever any thought comes into our mind, which we know, I mean, and generally we each of us have our own patterns. Okay, some thoughts like this come into my mind, then I will behave like this. This is known. We have to introspect our own behaviors, and then we should note these patterns, right? And then what happens is, whenever now we are contemplating and we know that, okay, this is this pattern, I know what is going to happen next, right? Now, initially we will observe this pattern, we will say, okay, I will do this, but then we're not strong enough, then we succumb. Right now, as we keep on practicing this identification, recognition of the pattern, and as we are progressing in bhakti, we will soon come to a stage where we recognize the pattern and we break the pattern. How do we break the pattern? Not by our own endeavor, by bringing Krishna into the picture, by fixing our consciousness on him, by surrendering to him, by begging for mercy, right? By somehow maybe engaging ourselves in Krishna conscious activity directly. Somehow we know that, okay, this contemplation that I'm doing right now is going to result in this kind of fall down. So I have to break this pattern. So let me engage myself in Krishna service. So immediately, chanting, loudly singing kirtan, right, or reading something, whatever we know is going to help us remain fixed in the particular seva for substantial time till that Vega subsides, till that force subsides. Otherwise, this rest of it happens in a fraction of a second. One cannot go and intervene anywhere. Because once we go into attachment, then lust, then anger, then tuck 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 tuck, then it all just fires one after the other, right? In like matter of few like microseconds it functions, and we don't have the power to intervene subsequently, right? And from anger, complete delusion, from delusion, bewilderment of memory, from memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, intelligence is lost, one falls down. Now this, technically, till we lose our intelligence, we are in control, but this whole thing happens so fast that we just lose our intelligence and we fall down. Srila Rupa Goswami has given us this direction. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubhi parityago vairagyam phalgo khatyate. By development of Krishna consciousness, one can know that everything has its use in the service of the Lord. Those who are without knowledge of Krishna consciousness artificially try to avoid material objects, and as a result, although they desire liberation from material bondage, they do not attain to the perfect stage of renunciation. Their so-called renunciation is called Falgu, or less important. On the other hand, a person in Krishna consciousness knows how to use everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not become a victim of material consciousness. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord or the absolute being impersonal cannot eat. Whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables, the devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So after offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Thus everything becomes spiritualized and there is no danger of a downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, whereas the non-devotee rejects it as material. The impersonalist therefore cannot enjoy life due to his artificial renunciation. And for this reason, a slight agitation, the mind pulls him down again into the pool of material existence. So it is very easy for an impersonalist or somehow somebody who has not experienced highest taste. Slight agitation will pull him down. For practicing devotees, initially neophyte, may not be slight agitation. Maybe little more heavy agitation will pull us down. It is said that such a soul, even though rising up to the point of liberation, falls down again due to not having support in devotional service. So the whole point is that we have to take support of devotional service. We have to depend on Krishna. We have to bring Krishna into our mind. We have to break our pattern. We have to increase our consciousness of Krishna. Right? And then Gnana should come, okay, all of this is not correct, not approved by acharyas. Guru is not going to be pleased. People whom I'm preaching to, I will be doing disservice. All these thoughts have to come, and that is also some of the reasons why one has to preach. Because when we are preaching, the first thing is we are talking to ourselves that I should not be doing like this before I tell somebody else. Correct? So the consciousness also kind of pricks, saying that okay, then why are you preaching? If you are doing nonsense, then you should not preach. Of course, it doesn't mean that we stop preaching. We have to increase our preaching, because then we will become more conscious. Then we will kind of, try to implement these sutras, these kind of solutions that Krishna has given for helping us, right? Krishna has given all this so that we can use it. So he said, fix conscious upon me. Otherwise, this whole thing will go and collapse. One will just fall. So these are all extremely important practical guidance that, practical guidance that Krishna is giving us. Okay. Any thoughts?
I just had one doubt.
Yes, bro.
So the sequence that we see here, is it in all cases, or is it for reason? So it's told that anger comes from if lust is
Prabhuji.
control.
Yeah.
But times I don't know. We might be angry on certain things. Is it because we have not controlled our desire?
No, but actually, if you analyze that, why do we get angry? Because something that we want has not been accepted or not been fulfilled, right? Like, for example, say for example, for you, right? Like, say your son is running around and he's creating havoc. Now, why are you getting angry? Because you have a need, you have an expectation, right, which is not being met. Here also Prabhupada says, right, like when lust is not satisfied, then anger develops. Lust means what? Sense gratification, something connected to self, to myself, right? I want you to do this. If you don't do this, I'll become anger. No, I wanting somebody to do something is for my sense gratification. Of course, see, if this is on the platform of bhakti, then it is not considered as lust. Then that is transcendental anger. But if it is on the material platform, then it is something that is connected to me, which is not fully accepted, followed by others, or whatever, right? And thereby anger arises. So generally, this first thing of disappointment, frustration happens before anger develops, right? And that frustration basically means something I expected did not happen, which is lust.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, Prabhu.
Okay. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Like from to my limited senses, like if we look at the purport, it appears like Prabhupada has not explained the pattern that Prabhupada has mentioned in the translation. How do we understand this? Like,
The pattern is self-explanatory, as in what is it that is required to be explained.
okay.
No. See, the purport is not talking about the pattern, because we are not getting into the details of the pattern. The important part is that there is a pattern, right? And it is difficult. It is beyond our control. So if you see the first here, he's saying that one who is not Krishna. So his whole focus here is saying that unless, this is so difficult and so impossible to control. So that is why he's giving, even Lord Shiva's example is giving, Haridas Thakur's example is giving. He's saying like, this, even however powerful you are, this pattern is even more powerful than you. Right? So the key here is slightest thought of sense pleasure. So this is this contemplation. Right? So he is just focusing more on the trigger. He's saying, okay, trigger happens. Now, once the trigger happens, then we are gone. How do we prevent the trigger? One is not Krishna consciousness, will. So starting of this paragraph, ending of the paragraph is actually kind of connecting to this contemplation only. Rest of it is, like I said, it's like non-controllable. It just goes, it fires. Right? So the focus is more on saying that how do I prevent this pattern from getting triggered?
Okay. Yes, Prabhuji, clear. Thank you.